Hey guys, we're back again with the long-awaited Kaiba deck profile. So, like I stressed in the Joey deck profile, we know you guys have been wanting the deck list for these characters, and we've released them now that we've seen what is the character's, last performance. So, let's go through. Kaiba's deck hasn't changed a great deal, but, we've tweaked it in the ways we could. So, overall, I mean, it's still Kaiba's deck is very monster heavy, but has all the really cool cards. Um, and definitely a couple new ones have been coming out here and there, which is still, really amazing that Konami is still printing cards for these characters. And Kaiba's a fan favorite who has gotten some great cards recently and still a few outstanding cards we're hoping to get. So start off with his old school Bad Locks, which of all the Kaiba cards that they're reprinting ultra rare, I'm disappointed this wasn't one of them. Despite being just a vanilla monster, I mean, just such an old school classic Kaiba card. I think you could use a nice ultra rare reprint. Next is, of course, the three legendary Blue Eyes White Dragons. So, of course, this staple of Kaiba forever and always. The newest version of the cards with the anime art. They're pre-printing these things, and they still look amazing. I mean, the anime art is still one of my absolute favorites, even though there's some really cool ones out now too. Next up, Gadget Soldier, Yin Zanryu, La Jin, who did manage to snag a Slam and Ultra Rare reprint. Ryukishin powered. Sagi, who somehow did not get an Ultra Rare reprint. Really? Sagi. Yeah, and Dark King of the Abyss has a secret reprint. Okay. Force Raider. X-Head Cannon finishes out the normal monsters. Blade Knight. Despherill Imp, or Dark Gremlin from the anime. Kaiser Seahorse. Lord of D. Obelisk the Tormentor. So, we didn't make any changes to Obelisk, unlike the other gods where we kind of wanted to tweak their effects. Obelisk is the same. We did not feel the need to give him the infinite attack ability. And yes, while we do have the TCG, tournament legal official copies of all the God cards, we still maintain use of the original ones because they have that really nice flavor text and mainly because of the card itself being the correct color. So that's why we're using the old school versions even though we have the new school versions. Not that any of these decks were ever meant for tournaments ever. 3 copies of Thunder Dragon, so Kaiba's only other triplicate. Y Dragon Head, and of course, lastly, Z Metal Tank. So Kaiba played that new XYZ strategy that we'll touch on when we get to the fusions. I do have a few things to say about that. So starting the spell cards off with Card of Demise, another one of our errata cards. So again, you can always find the full list of all our errata cards in a Google Docs in the description of this video and nearly every other video. But this is a card that we wanted to tweak it more like the anime and away from how Konami printed it for, of course, practical playability and TCG, OCG. So for those of you who are not aware of the anime effect, it's the draw 3, have 5 cards, and at the end of your 5th turn, your whole hand goes to the graveyard. So that is how we are rolling with this card. Cost down, enemy controller, Lullaby of Obedience, Monster Reborn, Polymerization. So unlike Joey, we did not give Kaiba the option to make, both of his fusions, although he always could with Despherill Imp. But Pot of Greed, Shrink, Silent Doom, Soul Exchange, Stop Defense, Kaiba's 2 Flutes of Summoning Dragon. The last spell is Ring of Defense, and needless to say, we have errated it so that we play it like the anime, where it shields only you from the damage, versus the TCG, where it shields you both from damage, which really nullifies the point of it being Ring of Defense counter to Ring of Destruction. Now, granted, the two effects would play the same, where they either inflict damage to both or negate damage from both, but it kind of negates the point of Kaiba's combo that he used repeatedly. So, Ring of Defense shields you, and only you, exclusively you, from damage. Cloning, Crush card, also errated, actually back to the anime because the card was printed well. They tweaked it, to try to make it more balanced. So again, you can find more proper descriptions in our document, but this is really back to the anime effect. Final attack orders, a little different effect in the anime, but we're leaving it with this copy. It's fine. We think we don't want to go with the anime route for this card. Interdimensional matter transporter. And lastly, Ring of Destruction. This is an interesting card. We have errated it to its original printed effect. We have errated it to its anime effect. Those are one and the same thing. It has been re-errated by Konami to have a more balanced effect, but it takes away from what the card really was as far as the anime gameplay. So this card is played with its original effect. Even though this is an original copy, we do mark the cards anyway so that viewers who maybe are not as familiar with the original printing effect, but more so the new effect, it still stands, because no matter what version of a copy this is, technically has that newest up-to-date effect. So again, it's really just more of a visual thing for you guys who follow along, so you can kind of see, all right, Ring of Defense has some thing. And unfortunately though, this card is just back to the original effect. Going on to Kaiba's fusions. Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon, well, duh. Twin-Head Thunder Dragon, also relatively duh. XYZ Dragon Cannon. Originally when we had this deck, we ended up using XY Dragon Cannon, but after really looking through the anime, we dropped it. So we no longer have it, we only have XYZ, as you saw. So Kaiba's whole fusion deck is just these cards. The thing with XY Dragon Cannon is that in the anime, in the sub version, so the original sub version, Kaiba equips Y Dragon Head to X Head Cannon. This yields the same attack, but it was just equipped. In the dub, however, Kaiba seems to make it clear that he's performing their conjoined fusion summon because it says XY Dragon Cannon. Now, in both cases, the monster has the same attack points. So it's really a matter of, in the sub, he equips them. In the dub, he fuses them. For that reason, we decided not to include it. However, if you chose to include this, I do not think it would be wrong. And the other thing we debated was including all of the pieces, because respectively, Kaiba could make any of the pieces, we only saw the one. So where I'm going with this is that while we chose to do this deck a certain way, and you may disagree, there are different ways to do it which we think are just as fair. We chose to do it this way. It makes it a tad simpler. So there's kind of the thing on that, because we've had people say, why don't you include all of them? And then we looked through it and we want to really kind of have a solid plan for this to define this Kaiba deck. So that's where it stands. We have not included this with other pieces because depending on which version you watch, it changes. So to wrap this up, Kaiba's Battle City deck is definitely one of our favorites. It's packed with a lot of cool monsters, a lot of cool cards, and we've had a lot of fun, with this Battle City reenactment. It's been a really great thing for us to go through and, sequentially do them. Because, the problem was, when we released Battle City decks, some of them were our first decks, some of them came, just randomly throughout, and we never got to give them a good run through, like we've been doing lately with some things, especially that Virtual World, where we really went through the entire story arc there. So, check out Kaiba's Battle City Duel if you haven't already. Next up, get ready for the final showdown. Yu-Gi America are going to go head to head. You're going to see these two decks in the newest, sleekest versions face off. Baijiu Anime Games out.